building blocks of Indian heritage, the building blocks of Bharatiya Sanskriti. What actually makes this Vedic system of thought so unique? I will just enumerate a few points. One of the most important teaching of the Vedic Sanatana Dharma is, Swami Vivekananda says, this is the keynote of the Vedic system of thought. What is that? The greatest utterance ever made in human history itself. And what is that? Truth is one. Sages call it variously. Ekam sat vipra bahudha vadanti. This is the central keynote, the very central rhythm of the Vedas. Swami Vivekananda says, just imagine at a time when other civilizations and cultures had not even come into existence, what to talk about Semitic religions of Christianity, Islam and Judaism. At that time, in that hoary past, some rishi, maybe on the banks of the Indus, or maybe on the banks of Saraswati, or maybe on the banks of Ganga, he is chanting the Vedic hymns and he is declaring to the entire world that the truth is one. Sages call it variously. And just imagine, the world has yet to accept and even understand this reality. Acceptance is still a distant probability. The world today in this 21st century, in 2021, even now the world doesn't understand the simple truth that truth is one. Sages call it variously. Is it not something very astonishing? Are we really advanced? Sometimes these questions do pop up in our mind. Merely technical advancement, does it make us really advanced? This great understanding about the ultimate reality, that it is one, we may call it by any name, doesn't matter. Is the 21st century humanity understanding this? Let alone acceptance. So Swami Vivekananda says this is the keynote of the Vedic system of thought. And if the truth is one, what is that truth? That truth is divine, divinity. It is pure consciousness. You may give it any name, doesn't matter. Names don't really make a difference, but it is pure consciousness, it is divinity. And this divinity is in the core of this creation itself. It permeates this creation. And if this divinity is permeating this creation, it is present in everything. Then the Vedas teaches, if it is present in everything, this divinity is present in every man, every woman. Every man, every woman is divine. This is the central teaching. Every animal is divine. Everything is divine. There is nothing but divinity everywhere. And this divinity, is it something to be believed in? Absolutely no. There is no belief system in the Vedas. All the Semitic religions, they are all belief systems. God resides somewhere in the seventh heaven, up in the sky. After death, you go there. There's a judgment day. And there are people waiting there to welcome you all. It's all belief systems. None of those things can be verified. Vedas don't talk about these things. Vedas tell us each one of us is divine. And this divinity is not something to be believed in, it is something we have to verify. Everybody can verify it, everybody can experience it. Then the Vedas teach us that the very purpose of human life is to experience and verify this truth for oneself. And then it says that this reality which we are talking about, it is nameless and formless. And yet it has any number of names and any number of forms. This is the paradox of this reality. And if this reality has got any number of names and any number of forms, we can worship in any number of ways. And this is what is Indian society, this is what is Hindu society, this is what is Bharatiya Sanskriti. The kind of variety and diversity which is allowed, I should not use the word allowed, it is a natural, spontaneous expression of this understanding that truth can be experienced in so many ways, in so many names, in so many forms. It's a spontaneous outpouring of the soul. When we understand that the truth can come before us in so many ways, and we can approach it in so many forms. This is what actually makes what Bharat is. Do you think Bharat is like this because of the Constitution of India? When was this Constitution born? Bharat as a nation existed as a cultural entity long back, even when other nations didn't even come into existence. So, these are the certain very moot building blocks of the Bharatiya Sanskriti. To this, one more point I should add, that is, if there are so many ways to approach the same reality, that is why the Indian sage, the Hindu sage, he says that no one is a stranger. Vasudhaiva kutumbukam. Ayam nija parovaiti ganana laghuchetasam udara charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. For the large-hearted man, for the Mahatma, the world itself is one family. Today in the 20th century, the United Nations has come into existence, which is a platform where the world is striving to bring all the nations together in the feeling of brotherhood. It's all a great attempt. But long, long back in that hoary past, the Rishi of the Vedas had declared to the world that this entire planet, Vasudha, this earth itself, is one family. Does the world accept it today, even understand it today? Are human beings really advanced? Again, the question comes in our minds. Now, these are the key points, the building blocks of Bharatiya Sanskriti. Now, when we talk about this Bharatiya Samaj, which has got this Hindu people as its basis and which has got this Vedic system of thought as the very foundation, we can, to conclude, we can say that the entire Indian culture and civilization stands on one factor, that is dharma. Dharma is the basis of this so-called nation, the Sanatana Dharma. Dharma is the science of life itself, which holds everything together. It is not a belief system. It is different from religion. These are the points to be pondered about. So Dharma is that building block on which this entire structure of Bharatiya Samaj, Bharatiya Sabhyata, Bharatiya Sanskriti stands. And we should understand, unfortunately, one more blunder of the modern times has been that we have declared India to be Dharma Nirapeksha. Just look at the irony of the situation. That which goes into the making of Bharat, we have made Bharat Dharma Nirapeksha. It is a Dharma-based land. Dharma is the very soul of this culture, the very soul of this civilization, and this we need to make the people understand. If we give out Dharma, there is no Bharat. Swamiji says, let this Dharma go away, all morality, all ethics, all spirituality, all philosophical ideas will vanish. So this Dharma stands as the very building block of Bharatiya Sanskriti and Bharatiya Samaj. Now to conclude, before I finish off, I think my time is already over, I want to make one comparison. When we talk about the Hindu Samaj or the Bharatiya Samaj, why I'm talking about, you may be thinking that why am I using the word Hindu, Hindu, Hindu again? It sounds to be a bit communal, perhaps. It sounds to be a bit racial, perhaps. But we have to understand one thing very clearly. A lot of discussion has been going on in this subject. We Indians should understand Hindu is the only community which is non-communal. Hindu is the only race which is non-racial. Is there any other race which does not practice racism? Every other race practices racism. The Hindu Samaj does not. Every other community is communal. Every religion is communal. They don't accept anyone who is outside their religious system. It is this Dharma-based Sanskriti of the Hindus which alone makes this fusion of all kinds of people, all races, so naturally and spontaneously possible. And one of the beautiful replica of this whole Bharatiya Samaj, we find, it's a very strange comparison, you may think, we find in Sri Ramakrishna's temple at Belur Math. You may think, what is this comparison? Very strange. No, it's not strange. Just now the picture which I have drawn about the Bharatiya Samaj, with Dharma as its center, when you all might have gone to the Belur Math temple, the structure you have seen, when you enter the temple, you go through the Nath Mandir, and finally you reach the Garbhagriha. In front of that Garbhagriha, you stand. There you find Sri Ramakrishna's image installed. Sri Ramakrishna is seated there. And around this image, a huge temple has come about. Now, Sri Ramakrishna is the embodiment of Dharma. He is the very embodiment of Sanatana Dharma. He is the very embodiment of the idea of Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vananti. He is the very embodiment of the idea of the divinity of the soul. He is the very embodiment of the idea of the purpose of human life is to realize God. He is the very embodiment of that. He is the very embodiment of everything that Sanatana Dharma talks about. Now, with this Dharma as the core, if this Dharma is seated in that Garbhagriha, now what happens when Dharma is at the core? Then the whole structure, what do we find in the structure? We find all the gods and goddesses of the Vedic pantheon, the Vedic architecture, smoothly blending and fusing, the fusion of the Vedic architecture with the Buddhist architecture, with the Christian architecture, with the Islamic architecture, and all of the architectures. What a wonderful fusion we find in the Belur Math temple, and all this is possible because at the Garbhagriha of this whole structure is the very embodiment of Dharma. Dharma makes this possible. Now understand the Hindu society or the Bharatiya Samaj. Why is this Bharatiya Samaj like this? Today we see the Bharatiya Samaj on the surface and many of us get confused. It is a perfect blend of indigenous and the foreign elements, and everything is happening so spontaneously and smoothly. What is letting this happen? Beneath this great phenomenon is the idea of Dharma. That is why we can say that Bharatiya Samaj is a rainbow of multicolored splendor. It is a rainbow. It is a rainbow. In fact, rainbow has got 7 colors, but this Bharatiya Samaj has got infinite colors, hues and saturation with different kinds of combinations. But we appreciate the rainbow. But we forget to see that this rainbow will not be possible unless you have the sun and the right kind of a background. What is that sun and the background which makes the emergence of this rainbow possible? That background of Bharatiya Samaj is Dharma. So this Dharma is the basic building block of Bharatiya Sanskriti and Sabhyata, and in the entire Swami Vivekananda's literature, you will find this point again and again presented in very passionate manner. Swamiji speaks about this in great passion and with great love, because he was one of the greatest Bharatiyas that ever existed on the surface of this country. Thank you so much.